Welcome to Write to Publish, your go-to podcast for all things writing and publishing. I'm Karen Stanley, a 14 times published author and the founder of Mabel and Stanley Publishing. Join me as I share a multitude of tips and insights drawn from my own writing and publishing journey. We'll be hearing from some inspirational authors too, who will share their writing experiences and top tips for success. Each week, we'll learn about an aspect of writing, from composition to genre and from publishing to marketing. Listen in as we learn and chat about all things writing and publishing, and let's get you on the right path.
Hello and welcome again to Write to Publish with me, Karen Stanley. So lovely that you could join me here today. So this podcast helps you take your writing from idea to bookshelf. And today we're tackling a topic that every writer thinks about, but not everyone understands. And it's quite often a creative person's nemesis. It's marketing, getting your book out there. What makes a book sell? And for many creative people, they get a little bit cold when they hear this, because it's like, oh no, I've written the book, I don't want to have to sell it. But if you don't tell people it's there, publishing it is not enough. It's not going to sell unless you market it correctly. So let's have a little look. So if you've ever poured your heart into a story and you wondered why it's not flying off the shelves, or if you're gearing up to publish and you want to give your book its best shot, so this episode really is for you. And we're going to break down the key factors that influence a book's marketability, including genre expectations, cover design, pricing strategies, reader psychology, and some smart marketing tactics. So let's get into it, shall we? So marketing is not the same as quality. So just because your book looks gorgeous, is wonderful, that's not marketing, okay? So there's plenty of beautifully written books out there that never find their audience, and plenty of commercial hits wouldn't win literary prizes. And that's because marketability is just about how easily a book finds buyers. So it's not about judgment on the writing, it's about the product's fit with the market. There's some great books out there that never sell, and there's some terrible books out there that sell like hotcakes. Products, books, whatever you call it. It's down to marketing. So the question you need to ask yourself isn't just, did I write a great book, but did I package it, position it, and present it in a way that's going to attract my readers? You want them to pick it up. You want them to be intrigued. So the first thing we're going to talk about is genre expectations. You need to give the readers what they came for. And genre is what's going to sell it. So when a reader picks up a romance, they're going to expect a happy ending, fluffy, warm, fuzzy feeling. If they're going to pick up a thriller, they want high stakes, they want suspense. If they're going for a cozy mystery, for example, they want small town charm, quirky sort of sleuth, but not much gore. Yeah. If you're a Stephen King fan, then you're looking for the absolute opposite of that. So the genre is, when people buy a romance, they're looking for certain things. They buy it because they love that cozy feeling. And if you meet the expectations of these readers, that will build their trust in you. If you break them intentionally, that can work, but you do have to know the rules before you break them, because that can be a little bit dangerous. And I would maybe suggest you need to have a bit of a track record before you do that. But, there are exceptions to that rule. So ask yourself a few questions before you start. Does your book clearly fit into a genre or subgenre? So how would you classify your book? Are you hitting the beats that your target readers expect? So, if it's romance, are you, hitting the whole cozy, warm, friendship, happy, satisfied endings, that kind of thing. And have you researched successful books in your category? So go and have a look in the category where your book's going to live, and look at the top 100 books on Amazon or your local bookstore shelf. What's the patterns? What do the blurbs promise? If you're writing a blend between genres, that's okay, but you'll need to be crystal clear about who it's for. So it's understanding your reader in order, and knowing who your target reader is, in order to satisfactorily position your book in regards of where it sits with its competitors. So go and have a look at books in your genre and see what they're doing. Secondly, cover design, really important. People do judge books by their covers. It's your book's first impression, basically, and like it or not, your reader's going to judge you by that. So a good cover should do three things. It should signal the genre instantly. And what I mean by that is if it's a Stephen King horror novel, you know, it's going to be dark and there's probably going to be blood on the cover somewhere and there's going to be, you know, a bit of gore or what have you. You're not going to put that on a cozy romance. They're probably going to be more pastel colours and softer tones and more kind of uplifting images. So, you know, that really is signalling to me, if I've got a haunted house on the front of a book, I'm not expecting a cozy romance, am I? And it will convey the mood or the tone of the book. So, and also looks professional at a thumbnail size. This is really important online. If your book only looks good in the flesh, when you look at it online, if it looks a bit ropey and it doesn't really catch the eye, then you do need to think about that, because more and more these days people buy online, don't they? So it's really important. So, to sort of summarise, fantasy readers are going to expect bold typography, atmospheric colours, maybe a central figure or a magical element. Romance readers are going to look for bright or pastel palettes, couple imagery, or illustrated designs. So, and your cover needs to talk to your readers who are scrolling fast. So if it screams indie, amateur, or wrong genre, you've lost them no matter how good the book is. They're not even going to stop the scroll. And this is one area where investing in a professional designer is almost always worth the effort, or at least someone who can help you with that. And, you know, you can expect to pay around £300 for a really good cover. And you've got to think of that as an asset, really, rather than a cost. I know it is a cost, but you know, you do have to invest in yourself if you want to be successful in anything, not just book writing, really. So, you know, if you spend £300 on a really great cover and you sell loads more books than if you spend nothing on your cover, you've got to ask yourself what's the false economy there. So now think about the pricing. So how much is your book going to cost? So pricing is part of your positioning, and this is how it sort of plays out. So if it's too cheap, say it's 99p all the time, readers might assume it's low quality, although readers do love a bargain. So you've got to you might have it at price and then do a special offer for a while, can sometimes really help you out. If it's too expensive, especially for new or indie authors without much following or reputation, they're not really, your readers are going to hesitate unless you've already built trust or a buzz, or you've got kind of a bit of a fan base going there. Free can work as a hook for series or email list growth, but it does need a plan behind it, and you've got to obviously budget for the loss leader there. So for indie ebooks, you're looking maybe £2 to £4.99. Paperbacks are sort of £9.99 to maybe £15.99. That would depend very much on genre and page count. So like a fantasy novels, they're typically really quite long, whereas a novella, for example, a romance novella, you're not going to pay top dollar for that. And you could experiment. You know, you could launch at a lower price to attract early readers and then raise it once you've built up reviews. If you're traditionally published, then your publisher is going to handle the pricing, but you do still need to understand the psychology behind it so that you can help to position your book well in your marketing. Because as I've said before, traditional publishers are not going to do your marketing for you. They might do a bit, but it's going to be minimal. So let's look at reader psychology. Why do people even buy books? They're not just content, really. They're experiences, aren't they? And understanding reader psychology can really make or break your marketing. So people buy books for loads of reasons: to escape, to feel seen, to learn something, to relate, to laugh, cry, or get inspired, or to join a conversation or a trend. It's your job to tap into the emotional or practical promise of your book. This is why it's really important to know who is your reader, who's your target reader. So ask yourself, you know, what transformation does my book offer? Or what emotions will my readers walk away with? What desire does it fulfill? You want your reader to feel something. If they don't feel anything after reading your book, then you really do have a problem. And all of these questions will help you when you're writing blurbs or ads or back cover copy. You're not just going to be describing the plot, you're selling the feeling of that your book delivers. So, for example, instead of a woman discovers a secret about her past, you could say something like, a woman's search for truth unravels everything she thought she knew and reveals a love worth risking it all. Yeah. So you're really trying to draw those readers in. You want those readers to go, I have to find out now. I need to find out what's happening. So you're going to need to think like a reader and understand what they want to feel. And part of that will be understanding your genre expectations and knowing who your reader is. And so let's talk some smart marketing tactics now. So as I said, even the most marketable book isn't going to sell if no one sees it. It's like having a shop and not telling anyone the address. And this is where your marketing tactics are going to come in. And here's a few that consistently will move the needle, hopefully. Email marketing, still probably arguably the number one way to reach readers. You're going to be building your list early, so way before the book launches. Things like book promotions and sites like BookBub, Free Booksy or Book Funnel, they can help you get visibility faster. Social media is not about going viral. It's about being discoverable, building trust. So it's being present, offering value. People buy from people. So a bit of writer's life behind the scenes. Get your readers to know you. Get your readers to follow you and really want to hear what you've got to say. So social media, let's face it, it's free. It's a great tool for marketing. Amazon keywords and categories. As I said before, your product's like a storefront. You need to optimize your metadata. If you work with Mabel and Stanley Publishing, I do actually have software that helps me to position your book effectively. And I can look at the best categories and the best keywords to give your book the best chance of bestseller status and discoverability. It's really important. Don't assume that categories like, well, it doesn't really matter. It's really quite important. Early reviews, if you can get some, that's going to build your social proof. So ARCs, advanced readers and beta readers and other people who, maybe in your field or collaborators who might read your book and offer you a review. Your marketing shouldn't feel sleazy. It's about connecting the right reader to the right book, which hopefully is your book. So, let's look at the big picture. A sellable book is a package. So it's not just the story, it's the total package. A book that delivers on its genre's promise, a professional genre appropriate cover, a price point that fits the market, and messaging that speaks to your readers' hearts and needs, so your readers' pains and challenges, and then marketing that gets the book in front of them. So how are you going to get them to see? You don't have to be perfect in every area, but the more aligned these elements are, the more marketable your book is going to become. So a few quick action steps for you if you're looking at marketing your book. Identify your genre's top 10 sellers. Have a look. What have they got in common? What do they do well? And how is that working out for them? Then evaluate your cover. Would a stranger know what kind of book it is at a glance? Would they look and instantly go, I reckon that's a thriller, or I reckon that's a sci-fi, yeah? Define your book's emotional promise. So what feeling are you really selling? Are you selling love and romance, or are you selling blood and gore, or are you selling nail-biting tension? Really important to know what you're selling. So your marketability isn't really about chasing trends. It's about, I can't say this enough, honestly, it's about understanding your audience and delivering that product so it speaks directly to them. So I hope that's helped. If you need help with your marketing at any time, we do run lots of Q&As in the writers group, and you can contact me, Karen, at mabelandstanleypublishing.com, and I will help you as best I can. I'll point you in the right direction. And we do have some packages and resources to help you with your marketing. So please do get in touch, because at the end of the day, you might have done all this wonderful work. You might have written a brilliant book. You might have edited it perfectly. And then you come to market it and you don't market it correctly. correctly and nobody sees it and you don't sell any. It's not enough just to publish that book. You do need to get it out there. You need to convince people that this is the book for them, and it will promise everything that their heart desires. Thank you for listening. Please do share and subscribe to the podcast, especially if it's been helpful. And I look forward to seeing you all again for another episode of Right to Publish. Let's get you on the right path.